Today we're going to talk about summarizing. Let's think about a way to apply this to your real life. Let's say you watch a TV show or a movie and you think, oh, my BFF needs to know about this. So you call him up or you see him at school and you say, you would love this movie. In the very first scene, it's dark, it's raining, there's a guy walking down the road. The music starts, you hear a bird chirp, the sun begins to rise. Do you tell every detail when you're talking about getting them to watch a movie? No, you tell them just the highlights, the main ideas of the story. You don't give them every note of the background music or every nuance of the scene as it develops in front of them. This is why it's called a summary. You just give the main points. You leave out all those extra details. That's what they're going to enjoy when they watch the movie. You just got to get them to go watch the movie. The same thing is true when we're talking about text. If you're going to summarize a paragraph or even summarize a book that you've read, you're not going to tell me everything that happens on page 1 and then page 2 and then page 3. You might as well just read the book aloud to them. That's not a summary. Summarizing is just the main points, and that's actually why I called this summarizing getting to the point. So we're going to review just a little bit of summarizing because you're going to be asked to summarize a few things on bell ringers this week, and I just feel like we need a review since last year ended kind of crazy. So when we summarize or when we make a summary, we just give a short account of the central ideas of a text, the main idea of a text. It's not a place for you to give your opinions about how great or how terrible you think the story is. It's not a place for you to tell all the different connections you have with it. If it's a story about a boy whose dad takes him fishing, this is not the time to tell about the last time you caught a big fish. Um, it's not, again, it's not your personal information. It's not what goes in a summary. When we summarize, obviously we need to read the text first, and we need to get over the big words. Don't let them scare you. Just move on. We're just looking for the bare bones of this piece. Ask yourself, what was this text about? And your answer should be in a complete sentence, possibly two. Summaries should be short. It should cover the main point and just the key ideas. And it should always be in your own words. We're not looking for sentences in the text to copy. That's not a summary. Summary has to be in your own words. And it can't just be a word or two. If the whole story I'm reading is about how a boy and his dad go fishing and they get lost and they meet a guy on the way, and they finally get to the lake and they fish all day long and they catch all these fish and the old man teaches them some tricks about fishing. To summarize the story, I can't just say the story's about fishing. That may be the topic of the story, but that's not the summary. You have to give the key points. So here's how you decide if something should go in your summary. Ask yourself if it's a major idea. Ask yourself if it's necessary information. It's probably not necessary to know that the boy in the story is wearing a blue hat. That doesn't change the outcome of the story at all. So that would not be part of the summary. So ask yourself, do you need this information to understand the text, to understand the story? If your answer is yes, then you need to put that in your own words into the summary. So let's talk about main idea and key points. The main idea is what that text is about. The key points are some arguments or information that support that main idea. Key points can then be developed or elaborated on. In other words, it's giving them lots of extra details. Your summary should include the main idea and the key points, but not those extra details. That's when it becomes more than a summary, and they might as well just read the book themselves. Here's an example text. Follow along as I read, please. Excuse me. A penny for your thoughts. If it's a 1943 copper penny, it could be worth as much as $50,000. In 1943, most pennies were made out of steel since copper was needed for World War II, so the 1943 copper penny is ultra rare. Another rarity is the 1955 double die penny. These pennies were mistakenly double stamped, so they have overlapping dates and letters. If it's uncirculated, it easily fetched $25,000 at an auction. Now that's a pretty penny. Let's look at this text. I think it's pretty simple to understand, but if we had to summarize it, what would we say? So I might say this paragraph's about pennies. Well, that's true, but that's the topic. That's one word. So then I might need to expand on it. It's not just about any old penny. It's not about the pennies that are sitting in the cup holder in my car. It's about rare pennies, right? We have the 1943 copper penny that's ultra rare, and the 1955 double die penny is ultra rare. So those are the pennies that this paragraph is talking about. But let's look at an incorrect response first. Again, if we said the text is about pennies, it's way too short. That's just the topic. It doesn't tell me what it's really about. It doesn't include any of the key ideas. And so we know it's just not enough. Okay, but you can go the other way too. Check out this response. It's also incorrect. It says, the 1943 copper penny is worth a lot of money. Copper was hard to get during the war, so there aren't many of them. The 1955 double die penny is worth a lot too. These pennies were stamped twice on accident. Okay, so I know now that it's about the two different kind of pennies, but look at all those little details that are in there. It tells me why the copper penny is worth a lot. It tells me information about the war, which has nothing to do with pennies. They link it here in this paragraph, but should that be in my summary? Probably not. It also tells me that the 1955 pennies were double cast on accident. It gives me lots and lots of extra details. It's too long. There's too much unnecessary stuff. Your correct response should be longer than this sentence and shorter than all this gobbledygook. You need to make sure that your main idea is clear. Just state it outright. Let's look at a correct response. So what should we start with? We can't just say it's about pennies. What can we say? How about it's about two very rare and valuable pennies? And then you can tell me which two they are. The 1943 copper penny and the 1955 double die penny. That's the summary. It's a sentence and a half. It tells me more than just the topic. It's not just about any old penny. It tells me about the pennies that's going to be telling me about, the two very specific kinds, but it doesn't go into a lot of detail. It lets the paragraph do that for later. This is the summary. Does that make sense? I'm going to give you just a really short assignment to give you a paragraph, possibly two, where you have to tell me what's necessary for the summary and what's just extra, what's details that aren't required for the summary. And that's the question you need to ask. The question you have to ask yourself is this necessary for somebody to understand what this paragraph is going to be about? So on your assignment today, I'm going to give you a paragraph, and then I'm going to write sentences in your answer choices, and you go through and you click anything that you think should be in the summary. Don't click on things that are unnecessary. Don't click on things that are just extra information, okay? And that's the end of your summary review for today. If you get stuck on a question, don't just guess. You can email me and ask for help. I'm happy to help you. If you're here at school on these days, definitely ask me for help. I'm not going to give you an answer because I want you to have to think for it, but I will help you get there. Okay? All right. I look forward to hearing from you. Now, go summarize.